everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a basic jewellery making video for those of you who are usually paper crafters but want to do things like make dangles for your TNs or your planners or just anything really, make your own charms, that kind of thing. So I'm going to start off with the pliers. These are called needle nose pliers. These ones are great for shaping, I don't know, the eyes of pins. I was trying to think of the word then. So you use them to create that little circle part, and they're also great for jump rings. That's pretty much what I use those for. The reason why you use these needle nose pliers is because, are they needle nose or round nose pliers? I think they might be round nose pliers, sorry. The reason why you use these is because they are round and you can use the barrel of the plier to shape the wire. Okay, so round nose pliers. These are just regular pliers. I use them to grip things, so when I am doing a jump ring I will grip it in one and then I'll use this one to open it and close it. So these are general use, they're quite handy. They're also good for pulling things apart, things like that. And then these are my wire snips. You can get loads of different pliers. To be quite honest, those are the three that I use all the time. And if you're a paper crafter and you're not really into jewellery making, you just want to make the odd charm, then those three should do you fine. You don't need to go and buy hundreds of the things. Unless you have a husband who steals them from you, in which case you might end up rebuying a few. Anyway, kind of like an in-joke in my house. Where's the pliers? Okay, so to make a dangle, you can use chains, you can use eye pins, or you can use head pins, and head pins come in all different sizes. I personally prefer the longer ones because you can cut them down to size and you can put bigger beads on if you want. The head pins are kind of like a nail in the fact that they have a flat bottom. So you can slide on a bead. Let me just grab one. And, oh, that's too big. You can slide on a small bead. That might be too big. And it acts like a stopper so it doesn't come off, so that could be the bottom of your dangle, which is very pretty. Okay, and then the other reason why these are handy to have is because you can shape the top into an eye, so you basically have a flat on the bottom and an eye on the top. So to do that, I am going to take my pliers and I'm going to go at a right angle. And I'm going to, this is quite hard to do on camera and still you guys be able to see what I'm doing. I don't think that's going to work. So you go at a right angle. I might just have to do it and then show you when it's done because it's too fiddly. But hopefully you will still get what I mean. Oh man. The bead spins in your hand. Right. You can kind of see now it's at a right angle. Hopefully. My fingers are in the way. There you go, right angle. And then what you do now is you come across to this side and then you fold it back on itself. Sorry, I'm going to have to do it closer to me. Like that. Can you see that? Yeah. And then you go back. It's really hard to do because I don't have great hands. Oh. I haven't done this for a while, you can tell, can't you? Oh dear. I think these are a lot thicker than the ones I usually use. I usually use these ones and they bend really easily. So when I'm struggling with my hands like today, they're not quite as difficult. Why did I pick this one? Oh, I might have to just do one on these because my hands aren't working. Sorry. Oh, I know why you picked that, because it's a head pin. Come on, keep going. I do have some thinner ones if I have to. Anyway, I'm going to keep shaping this all the way around and back on itself. Could do with some blue tack. In fact, that's a good idea. Where's the blue tack? Craft tacks for the dexterity challenged. Okay, now keep going round. It's still spinning though, that's really annoying. I think I might have to give up with this one because it's too hard for me to do with my hands being bad today. And it's really not that hard, I promise. I just having a bad day. Maybe I should start this video again. Or shall I leave it in so you know that it's not you? Let's try with one of these because these ones bend a lot easier. Okay, put my pin back on. Okay, next. Flat, and then start to bend it back on itself. That's so much easier, even with it moving around. Oh dear, keeps spinning. I think once you get it to this point, you can use a second pair of pliers just to get it started and hold it while you make a loop. And what you're aiming for is for it to overlap like that. It's not a perfect circle, I've not done a great job of it, but you get where I'm going. So now I'll just work on my shape. Okay, and then when you're happy with the shape that you've got, I mean, I'm not, but for the sake of the video, I'm not going to sit here and make you watch the whole lot. What you need to do next is cut the back wire, so you use your wire snips for that, and you want to cut it as close as possible to where the overlap is on the back. And I suggest you do this into a cloth, so if it pings off, it doesn't go in your eyes. And I usually keep these because I make my own jump rings out of them when my hands are working. Okay, now to open and close this, I recommend that you use, let me do it in this hand, 2 sets of pliers, one to hold the ring to stop it just spinning around in your hand, and the other one to open and close. Now when you open and close a ring, you never ever pull them apart, you only twist them side to side. So you would open it like that, not like that, if that makes sense. It's kind of hard to describe because it's so tiny, but so I am going to twist it open, and then I could hook a jump ring onto that. Or one of these eye head things, whatever you fancy. And you can get just regular metal things, or you can get real silver if you're making jewellery, whatever you fancy. I'm just using metal ones today, not silver ones. And then to close it, all I did was twist it close. Ooh. And then I have my basic bead dangle with a jump ring so that I can hook it onto something else. The reason why I usually add a jump ring is because, say you're making a necklace like this one. If you attach one jump ring, your main pendant is going to hang sideways. Oh, sorry, I wasn't on camera. It's going to hang sideways like that. But if you had another jump ring attached and it was hanging like that, you have one facing the wrong way and one facing the right way, which means that your pendant actually ends up facing the right way. Does that make sense? Can you see that? Whereas if you just had that, your pendant would be hanging that way. Hopefully that makes sense. Because I've done this whole elaborate thing with all these head pins and stuff, and then I've got to the end and it doesn't sit right on my neck, and it really pees me off. So that's just a little tip. So yeah, these eye pins here are mostly used if you want to make a chain. So you basically put a bead on, then you do the same thing, make an eyelet, but then you already have an eye pin on this side. So it's exactly the same technique, but you start with an eye pin instead of a head pin, and you just keep chaining them together and you get a chain that is like this. I don't want to sit and make one because it will take forever, and I don't think I need to because the technique's literally the same. So I will save you watching me fiddle with my really bad hands. Another thing that's pretty cool to have are like big crystal gems. They make quite nice dangles for journals because they're heavy and they make it hang straight down. These ones you will need to do what I said with the having a separate jump ring in between, because otherwise it will sit sideways rather than that way. And that's if you're going to be resting it on the front of a journal or something. If you're just going to let it dangle across the side, it doesn't really matter because it's kind of free flowing. The other thing that I thought I should probably share is a close-up of opening and closing a jump ring, just because that's what most people are going to do, and that's what most people do wrong. These are so tiny, they're really hard to get hold of. Right, so if you see, that is my jump ring, and the opening for it is where my thumbnail is. So most people go wrong when they pull it apart that way, but what you actually need to do is twist it like so. So you're using one to open it, sorry, one to hold it. Can you see that? So you've twisted it open rather than pulled it open, and then you can hook that onto whatever you want to use. So I'm going to add a lobster clasp like so. My camera's not focusing very well. And then you just twist it close. And the goal is to make sure that the points here meet up, and then it won't come off. See, it's secure. And this lobster clasp, sorry about my hands getting dirty, is the grease off of these pliers. Yeah, this lobster clasp is my favourite for attaching things onto journals, or you can use them as bag charms. I've made quite a few bag charms. Yeah, you can make whatever you like, but they're just really handy to have in your arsenal. And that's pretty much all I would say, really. The other thing you can make is stick pins, and I like to make stick pins for my vintage journals with these head pins rather than actual real pins, although I have made them with real pins, because, like, for example, these kind of pins already have the pearl on the top, so they can be nice, but I don't like putting sharp pins in cards sometimes. So if I want the bottom of it to be exposed, I tend to use these head pins because they're not pointy and sharp on the bottom, and I just feed my beads on, and I use glossy accents to glue them to the metal so they stay at the top, and then I just leave the rest as the pin itself. And usually I'm tucking them behind things anyway, so it doesn't really matter, and these are quite a lot longer than those little short pins, so they're quite handy. What else? Oh, the other thing I wanted to show that I quite often use in both head pins and charms is these bead caps, or these metal beads. I think that they can give a real vintage look to your projects, making them look less new, especially if you use like gunmetal or bronze coloured things. I just pulled out silver today because it was the first thing that came out, but they are just these little caps. You can get smaller ones or bigger ones, and you put them over the top of your bead. Let me try. Oh. So you thread them on first, and then you thread your bead on, and you can put another one on the other side if you want to, and they just have that really nice vintage look to them. I really like them. I think they just make them a bit more fancy. If you are worried about your things discolouring, you can always cover them with clear nail varnish before you and let them dry before you thread them on to your project, because then you're just basically giving them a coat of lacquer to stop any water or oil or moisture from your fingers getting on them. I do that quite a lot if I'm making bracelets, to be honest, because they're by your perfume and, you know, you perspire and all that. So yeah, you can get bead caps in all kinds of sizes. I mean, these are some really big ones for bigger beads. You can get more dimensional ones to fit around little pearls. I don't know if you can see those, they're quite cool. I mean, I've collected these over literally years, so I've got a few of each one. I used to make a lot of stick pins. So yeah. Okay, so I just store them in these little baggies because jewellery storage can get really expensive. So this works for me and it's not too expensive. And then the other thing you can use in your projects, for your dangles at least, is chains. And I just use old bits of jewellery, necklaces and so on. You can get cheap things from charity shops and take them apart. Yeah, you can get all sorts of different types of chains and just add them to your project. I quite like this black metal chain for like grungy type journals, and the gunmetal and the bronzes are really nice for vintage projects. But yeah, I mean, you can literally repurpose anything. I mean, if you really wanted to, you can sit and put a load of jump rings together to make a chain. I wouldn't recommend it because it's an expensive way of getting a chain, but you could do it if you really wanted to. The other thing I wanted to say, and sorry I'm jumping around, but I haven't done this for a while and the ideas are coming back to me as I'm playing. These ones here with the eye heads, they're really great for attaching large beads. So like I've got this one here, it's got an eye on each end, and I tend to make them face the same way if they're going onto a chain, like, sorry, not the same way. So one is facing down and one is facing forward, because when you thread them together on a chain, they move more flexibly. I don't know if that makes any sense, but in my brain it does. So that's just a tip. If it's not laying correctly for you, you can try changing the orientation of one of the eye heads and seeing if that helps any. So you can see there where I made my eye head and the original one, which is much better shaped. But yeah, these ones are quite difficult to do because you have to get really close to the end of the bead, otherwise you see the what's the word, a bit of the post when it moves around. I don't know if that makes sense, I hope it does. And then last thing I wanted to show you, there's some other options for making your own stick pins, hat pins, whatever you want to call them. These are some that I've made in the past. I've used the regular stick pin with the teardrop top, and then I added a bead cap, clear bead, a little swallow charm, and then a pearl, and then I've just glued that together with glossy accents. I like glossy accents because even on the clear beads it doesn't show up, and it doesn't dry matte, it dries glossy, so you don't see white matte colour inside, if that makes any sense. There's a really simple small one. Oh, that one's fallen off, I'll have to fix that. Some of these are very, very old. This is an example of one with 2 bead caps. Here's another one with a butterfly charm. So yeah, you can literally create whatever you like. Here's a metal bead. Quite like this one. Reminds me of a crown for some reason. Yeah, so you can literally just be really simple and use pearls, or you can use any kind of bead, charm, whatever you like. I also have some of these pins which are left over from my wedding. I use them in my bouquet, but they make really nice faux looking hat pins, and you can just thread beads on them and glue them. That's probably not the best bead, but you know what I mean. I think I gave away quite a lot of my pins because I ended up making my own. Ah, here they are. I do have some left. So these are some other options that you can get out there. You can find ones that are like leaves. Those are quite nice to nest into flower clusters, and then I usually add my own beads. You can get little flower ones, hearts, plain teardrops, plain crystals, all sorts. So basically, if you can imagine it, you can put it together really simply, and it's pretty much what I use the majority of my beads for. Here you go. Here's one where I've used a head pin and I've just glued some on, and then it's flat at the bottom so no one can get hurt. So there. Actually, I put my handmade ones in here. I should probably put that in there with the others. So yeah, and I just store them in these tiny little jars because I don't have that many now, so they're really easy to store like that. So I think I've covered all the basic things of making charms, and the different pliers you need and the different findings, that's the word I was looking for. But if you have any questions, you can leave me a comment down below. I do make jewellery, so if you're more interested in making things into a jewellery piece, I can always do another video. But I think most people that watch my channel at the moment are paper crafters, so that's why I've just stuck to the simple things. And the other thing that I like to have in my stash is this felt mat. It's a beading mat. I'm not sure if it's felt or just, I don't know what it is, but it's a piece of cloth and it just stops the beads rolling off. So I'm sure you could use a flannel or a piece of towel or a microfiber cloth if you don't have one of these. I just got it with a kit that I bought. But yeah, something like that is pretty handy because I'm always letting things roll off the table. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Bye. 50 awesome points to everybody who got this far in the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can find out when I release new videos. And there are a couple of videos here for your delectation if you so desire.